official name for it. When are we getting the? Is it next week?
I don't think so. But
Oh, really? So you had some inside info?
we're live.
There it goes.
Yeah.
How's everyone doing?
What's up? Day 3.
What up,
This felt like day 2 to me.
bro?
It's day 3.
Bro, so this is. I actually was thinking about this coming in. We'll start the pod in a sec,
Yeah.
and then we'll talk about something else. Not Eagles. Then we'll get into the Eagles. I was thinking about this morning, like, and I'm a big oh, it's Wednesday, but it feels like it should be Thursday guy. This week might be the all-time. It's Wednesday, and it feels like it should be Thursday. Like
Well,
to the point where my mom's coming down tomorrow, Thursday, to have lunch after a show and all that. I literally last night was like, all right, so my mom's coming down tomorrow at noon. I gotta talking to Emily, and Emily's like,
You were
Isn't your
throwing
mom-
off.
isn't your mom coming up on Thursday? And I'm like,
Well, it's gonna be even
oh
worse.
man,
When the Eagles play on Monday, it's gonna.
I
be
know it's gonna be like the most extended playoff.
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
It's all right,
Oh
one
wait.
extra
Oh,
day is fine.
sorry. My actual response: the Eagles are in the playoffs this week.
I know.
No way. I had
Doesn't
no
feel
idea.
like it.
Gee,
It
no
really
least
doesn't.
ever, dude.
Yeah.
We're sitting here diagnosing a season.
I
Anyway,
know.
let's
Well,
do the
okay.
pod.
Yeah,
Let's do the pod. All right, here we go. Hey, hello. It is the Go Birds podcast presented by the Bet Park Sportsbook and Casino app. You got to tune in to the YouTube shows. We're doing them the pre-show, because we just did a little pre-show. Shout out to everyone. And we had something else we were going to talk about, but I find this interesting, so I was like, let's just start the pod.
Yeah.
I said this on the radio today, too. This is, in my lifetime, the single least, and that's a tease right there.
Yeah.
Single least, playoff week feel of a playoff week I've ever had. It feels like we're eulogizing the season. We're diagnosing this is where it went wrong, and this is what, and let's see what they do with Nick and all that. But they're playing in the
game.
They won't. They won't. But it is a factual statement to say they could still win the Super Bowl this year. That's how crazy it is.
It's really not all right, let's just go 1 to 10. 10 being how sure you were last year. 1 being there's literally a 0% chance. What would you put the chances at that they win the Super Bowl?
1 or 2 or whatever the lowest thing I can. That's where I'm at. But yet, it's probably higher than that. But it's not high.
I was thinking 3,
sure.
2.5.
With this defense is just
The defense is bad.
if the defense were even service, I guess the argument you could say is Slade comes back, Cunningham comes back.
Yeah, well, Cunningham came back last
Yeah, well. Slade and Cunningham together, Elliot, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
So
Avante.
I have talked myself already into if they play the Niners in the second round, it's better to get them off a bye.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's not a bad. I've always thought that.
Yeah,
I think you'd rather play someone off.
I won't pick them against the Niners. I'm marking my word right now.
I'm not picking them against Tampa. So
I'm picking them against Tampa.
So the one thing I will say, I'm only into the lifetime thing, but the line, and I opened up the Bet Parks app this morning. Check out the Bet Parks app. It's up to 3.
It's an Eagles line.
It is. It's not just Eagles. It's moving towards the.
Yeah, I bet. You think it gets to 4?
I don't know. I didn't think it'd get to 3.
I thought since it came out.
I thought it would open in 1.5 and go straight towards the Bucs.
They're trying to get people to bet Tampa.
Yeah, of course. That's the way this works.
Right. So it's a good sign.
It's a great sign. Honestly, it's the only thing that I have right now. Every other argument, other than they're more talented or whatever, and even then, with this defense,
no big deal. Yeah.
No, but with this defense, it's not. I think this defense is the worst unit in the game, and thus I think it could lose them the game.
Yeah.
But of all the potential positives that we've talked about this week, which is few, the line is the single biggest one for me. That's the single biggest one that at least makes you feel like, oh, maybe they won't lose.
Yeah,
and I think
it's an Eagles line. So I rewatched the Eagles Tampa Bay game from week 3. And the thing that stood out to me the most
was how much better the Eagles were then than they are now.
I don't know if I'm projecting.
Look, no, Richie did the exact same thing on the air today. Comes on, he's like, oh, it's like a different football team.
It's just they look like different humans.
He's like, they're so much faster.
Yeah, they look granted, they had the all white on, and it was prime time, and there was lights, and it
was my birthday.
It was your birthday, so the vibes were high. But it just even the way Jalen was throwing, it just looked like a completely different team, and it just reinforced my belief that what we're watching right now
is the scoregami, right? 25-11, wasn't that what it was?
Was it? I'm not into the scoregamis.
I am. I think it's cool. I'm not into it where it's it gets 60,000 retweets or whatever. I don't care about that. But I do think it's fun when a score that has never happened happens.
How about this? Do you think the 49ers have ever scored 49 points?
I'm sure they have.
Do you think they've ever won a game by 49 points?
Probably
not. I bet they've never scored 49 points.
They've scored 56 in a Super Bowl.
But that's not 49.
I know. I'm just saying 49 used to be pretty standard.
But the point I'm making is to get exactly on 49.
Well, let's find out.
I don't know how you will look this up unless you're gonna. I guess you could Google have the 49ers.
Well, I'm gonna try that and see what happens.
Yeah,
have
I
the
think Tucker's
Niners
on it too.
ever scored?
I just think the chances seem so slim. I mean, I guess
Why?
they're 1 in.
They play a lot of games.
They have, but 49's tough to get to.
3 times
Oh,
they've scored
right.
49 points.
That's not a ton of times. So
It's 3 more than you thought.
3 more than
all
I
right,
thought.
pal?
But it's still 3 out of what?
3 more than you thought. buddy.
500
I
games?
said I'm pretty sure it's happened. I
Yeah.
win, you lose. Let's move on.
Well, I feel actually vindicated out here.
What are you talking about? You said you didn't think it ever happened.
But the
and
point
I
I'm
was like,
making
it's
is,
happened.
Yeah, but it rarely happens.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
But the point is like that's
Well,
why
I
I was
bet
like,
they've
it's
scored-
probably happened.
But I bet they've scored.
It's happened 3 times.
I bet they've scored 27
You
points.
can't take a
like,
win on there. That's a total loss. By you.
I feel. Look, it's an emotional win.
Yeah.
It's But what I was saying though was when you watch the Eagles Tampa Bay game from week 3, it just validates to me that the reason this team is bad right now, and there are on the field reasons which we've discussed at length. The reason this team's bad right now is because they're just tired and beat up from like the Super Bowl run in the schedule. It looks like a team that was like young and full of hope versus a team now that is just spent. That's just spent. Like so.
Well, that's what I was saying yesterday. It just feels like they're kind of run out of steam.
Yeah, it feels like they've run out of steam. As opposed to week 3, it looked like they were like clicking on all cylinders. And grant, they really weren't. Like they go down the.
That was like the one good game they kind of played that.
Well,
start, yeah.
so it's funny they go, and this is something to be noteworthy for the game on Monday. They go down the field the first 2 drives of the game. They move the ball pretty easily, and they end up with 3 points. So like,
wow, that's interesting.
and
they still won 25.
and they still won. The Buccaneers' red zone defense is good. Like that
Yeah.
is, and the Eagles' red zone offense, as we know, has been very hit or miss. So that is a concern for Monday. But yeah, just what really stood out to me is just how like fresh and young and excited they look. And now they look like they've like been through the ringer.
Yeah.
So David Orlovsky put out this video. Have you seen this? It went viral. So
No.
I mean, you're not really it's gone viral. I've seen it. Guy.
Well, I've talked about this too. I believe I used this as some final thought once upon a time. But if not, guess what? Free final thought in the middle of the pod or
Here we
being the
go.
pod. I'm not a clips guy. You know what I mean? I really need to like. I'm like I watch full things. Like I'll watch an episode of a TV show. I don't need to see a minute of it.
That's fair.
Like unless it's like a joke that is 10 seconds or something. Like I'm not like I don't like I'll hear the audio on the radio, whatever. But like I don't tune in to see Dan Orlovsky break things down that often, or I don't
Yeah.
tune in. You know, like it's just not my thing. I'm not a clips guy. I'm a full context.
By the
guy.
way, have you watched the show Fargo?
Yeah. Well, I've watched other seasons of it. I haven't seen the new one.
Dude, Fargo is unbelievable. I'd never watched it before.
Look at it. He's like, oh, have you heard of the show? It's called Fargo.
Yeah,
Welcome. Yeah.
It's awesome. We
Yeah,
watched
the first 4 seasons are really good.
So we watched
the 5th one just is starting now.
No, what? The 5th one's actually 9 episodes in.
Oh, whatever. It's on now.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
We've watched it so far with John Hamm. It's really good, and the first season's awesome too.
Yeah.
I'd highly
I think the
recommend it to anyone that
third
hasn't
one
watched
was my favorite. I can't remember which one. The separation of them, but I think the third one.
I actually think this would be like my all-time feel really strong recommending it show is Friday Night Lights. Like, I'm positive everyone will like it. Fargo might be.
I think that you have a tendency to get really wrapped up in things
For
in
sure.
the moment
Yeah.
and make grandiose statements.
I can't think of a better show than Fargo that I would recommend.
Exactly
Like,
right.
It's amazing.
I
And the
know.
cast is
It's-
unbelievable.
Sounds very right. Didn't you once say Vanderpump Rules the best
Well,
show?
Vanderpump's the best reality show of all time.
Okay.
I've probably said that. Well, I do think it
You've said
deserves-
many shows.
It-
Well, you said which I actually watched. What was the one with
White Lotus.
Oh no, yeah. You said
Yeah.
the season of White Lotus is the best season of television of all time, without
I
a
think
doubt.
It probably was.
The
until I saw
the
Fargo.
Politician,
Also
which
an
I
amazing-
enjoyed. You're like best show I've ever seen. You're very big. You go
Well,
you go full hyperbole.
you're
with these.
naming a bunch of fire shows. Like I was feel vindicated and all of that.
Yeah, but I can name 15 of them. The point
Yeah.
is just go hyperbole.
Those
That's
are
okay.
probably my 4 favorite shows.
Except for the next 4 I mentioned.
Yeah.
right there too.
So anyway,
Fargo is a very good.
it's very good. Do you think it's harder to write a show that's a continuous plot for 5 seasons, or harder to write a show where each season's completely different?
I think it's completely different for different people. I think in general, though, I think it's probably much easier to write each season its own condensed, its
It
own
must be kind of like
capsulated
freeing
story.
and refreshing, though.
Well, I mean, think about it, because then characters over time, how they grow and how they change and the interactions.
Right.
Like, there's just a lot to that, and there's a
It
lot
just
of
seems- that's-
depth.
I think
there's a
it
lot-
seems harder. Is
That's
what
what I'm
saying.
saying.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's easier to just do a season of
Yep.
something and then move on to the next season.
Yep.
But yeah, I agree.
So anyway, the Dan Orlovsky clip. Dan Orlovsky.
Which I did not say.
Right. So he has this clip where he's talking about the Eagles' offense, and he says the Eagles have the worst offense in the playoffs, which I firmly disagree with, but whatever. So,
Does he know the Steelers are playing
yeah,
in the playoffs or
or
no?
the team they're playing,
Yeah.
the Bucs just scored 9 points.
Honestly, I think the Bucs are better than the Steelers. I think it's like clearly the Steelers. Like the Steelers are
the worst
easily the worst defense or worst offense.
I agree. I mean, they're starting Mason Rudolph.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I know.
But so he shows this clip of the Eagles offensive lineman against the Giants, and this might be like a lack of me understanding what he's talking about. I'll say that up front. But the ball is spiked, and the Eagles lineman, instead of pushing forward, just stand up vertically. And he was using this to make the point of, like, their offense is playing at a really high level, or really not playing at a high level. But to me, that just seems like a complete lack of effort thing. And do you think I'm reading that wrong? Like, if they're not pushing forward, like, I don't think they're being coached to just stand straight up.
Well, it was pass protection?
It was pass protection, yeah.
So, I mean, in pass protection, they are supposed to kick out and block back.
But it just
I'm
looked
confused.
But
like they're not pushing forward in
the
pass.
point I'm making is
the initial push and then pull back. Like, I'm confused.
The point I'm making is if you look at the Week 3 game versus what that shows in that clip, they just look like a disinterested, lazy team now. Like Week 3, it looked like they were the aggressor.
So I agree, but also I will say I feel like this Giants game, for making grandiose points about the offense, is the worst one. Like, let's go to the Arizona one. Let's go to the one before that.
Yeah. Well, they were good against Arizona. It would be
but regardless, the Giants game before that, the
Seahawks
Seahawks game, whatever. My point is I feel like that Giants game, like we've talked about many times, like not acceptable and not okay, but it did feel like they just were not interested in playing football.
I agree.
Like, so, and that's not okay. But I don't think it has anything to do with scheme or coaching in that game. I think they just didn't want to play. I think they gave up. I think they had guys sitting. Yeah. They went down early. AJ, I honestly think you mentioned this. I think when AJ got hurt, they're like, all right, screw this, man. Like, all right, we got a playoff game next week or even whatever. Period. I'm like, this turf, the MetLife turf, all the players know it. They talk about it all the time. Like, I just think they weren't there to play. They weren't there to go. And I think in football, more than any other sport, you could be 1% not ready to go. And that's enough to make you not be good enough. Like, everyone has to do the same thing at the same time. It's a dance. Everyone's got to move the same way. Everyone's got to hit their blocks. Everyone's got to, like on the blitz pickup, if one guy doesn't do the right thing, bang, it's over. Like, so I do think that there is, I think, and if one guy's not doing it just hard enough, all that.
Well, what's interesting is I'd heard, like, being at the stadium before the game, that the Giants were, like, super motivated to win that game.
I'm sure they were.
Which makes no sense in a way because, like, they needed to lose for their draft stock.
They didn't, though. They only went down one spot in draft stock. The way it all played out, the Giants really didn't have much. Like, they were going to be either the 6th or the 7th pick, I believe, or 7th or 8th, or whatever it is.
Well, I'm saying
6th or 5th or whatever.
Had they lost, though,
they moved one spot.
Things broke their way. Is that what you're saying? Like, other teams that they needed.
I'm saying that the way it shook out with the amount of wins and losses, they were in that little in-between phase where there are a lot of teams that went 7-10, a lot of teams that went, whereas like it wasn't going to influence their draft stock one way or the other that much, apparently, from what I understand.
Well, they played
and in the end, it influenced at one spot. They went down one spot from where they were.
Right. So I do think they ran
ultimately
into
point being they don't have much to play for other than pride or Daboll heading into next season or whatever.
Right. So, anyway, I just do think they ran into a very motivated Giants team. That being said,
not acceptable.
Unacceptable. Agreed. So that was my Dan Orlovsky thing where I just thought that looked like a lack of effort to me as opposed to a lack of, like.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of effort.
Things.
And look, I think there's been poor coaching. I don't think that's. And again, I haven't seen a clip and all that.
Right.
Not a clips guy. But
I almost want to show it to you, but I'll.
Do you really, though?
Well, I do, but it's probably not great podcasting.
Yeah, yeah. You can show it to me after.
Yeah,
and then I'll come back next pod tomorrow. I like that. That's good. People are gonna be waiting with bated breath for my reaction to the stupid Dan Orlovsky video.
Yeah.
Do you like Dan Orlovsky? As
a
commentator, not as a person.
I mean,
think he's
you
fine.
know how I feel about like talking about other media.
That's fine. All right, I'll say it.
I think he's good.
I think he's okay.
Yeah,
I think he's overrated. I think everyone's like, oh, Dan Orlovsky's so great at this. I think he's fine. Like, I think he's super average. I think he's like he was as a quarterback. Like, he's like, sure. Is he one of the best 62 in the league? Sure. Is he good at it? No.
So I do think he breaks down film in like a digestible, like fun way.
Sure.
I
There's
will
just
say
something
that.
about him.
Here's my thing about film breakdown, since we're on this tangent.
Sure.
Like, I just think it comes down to like who you want to believe. Like, I watch some clips and I'm like, I don't think this person knows what they're talking about. And I'm sure people think about that about me when they see, like, I think Dan knows what he's talking about, but it's his opinion. And I also think that when, like, the coaches know everything that's going on. Like, when, like, if someone watches the clips, it's like, why would they be running this? Maybe their players don't like to run what that analyst would run. Or maybe, like, the coaches don't think their players can run that. Like, why do the Eagles run such a simple offense? Maybe it's because they don't think their players.
Maybe they don't trust Jalen. Maybe they don't trust the players.
Yeah, or they don't think the team's like united enough to run.
Who knows?
Yeah. Right. So that's my only issue with film breakdown sometimes and I do it too, where it's like, well, why didn't they do this? And I look at this and I'm like, this seems silly. Like, I am sure there are reasons for what they're doing. Now, their logic might be bad, but I think that this whole idea with the blitz thing too, like their whole plan is for Jalen just to run. Like I couldn't disagree with that more.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're just not. They're misidentifying, misdiagnosing, all that type of stuff. I just I'm on Orlovsky personally.
I can tell.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to Howie because look, we've talked a lot, obviously, about Nick and Jalen.
And I have a Larry question.
The culpability, all that type of stuff. How blame, and I do think that very clearly Nick and Jalen deserve the big, like you said so many times, they get the credit when it's all going well, and but like, look, so I personally feel like I put very little of the blame on Howie. I think that, the Bradbury is a massive miss. I think that linebacker safety thing, you can criticize him for maybe undervaluing the position. I don't know. Maybe the league's changing a bit and he needs to put more value into that. Like, there are certain things, but on the whole, after what Howie did last year and what Howie, the roster that he's put out there, but then, people could be like, if you don't believe it hurts, they gave him the contract. There's so many things where it's like, it's so hard to kind of grasp onto. When you look at Howie's role and culpability in what's happening the last 6 weeks with this team, where do you kind of parse it out for him?
So I remember when the Eagles were in the Super Bowl and we were talking going into the game, like, if Howie wins it, is he a Hall of Famer? Right? And we both agreed yes. And I was thinking how refreshing it must be for Howie. He's on the field pregame, and he goes up to the booth. And from there on out, it's completely out of his control.
Hands, yeah.
He can give him the players. He can hire the coaches, but it's out of his control. I think Jalen and Nick have let Howie down this year to an extent. Because I do think he gave Nick and he gave Jalen
more than enough tools
to be better than they have been. Like, I don't think Jalen's played well enough. I think that impacts everything as with all quarterbacks.
Without a doubt.
It impacts the defense.
And also off the field. Honestly, I'm more concerned.
Yeah, I heard you say this morning.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about the leadership stuff with Jalen than I am about the play. I understand. I'm not that concerned about on the field stuff. I think they'll figure it out. I think he needs better coaching. I think he needs an off-season, all that stuff. I'm concerned. I'm not the fact that I thought Jalen was the best leader I've ever seen at his age, ever. And I think the way he goes about his business, the focus, all that's still there, and I respect it, and I think that's amazing for his age and the dedication and wanting to win. But maybe he's not as good at getting guys to follow him, giving players what they need, being able to be rah-rah for some guys and kick someone in the butt when they need it, or be quiet when needed and loud when needed. I don't know. It's something that I took for granted that maybe is not as good as I thought.
So I think a couple things on that. One, I do think that with leadership, sometimes when a player is playing really well, they're a great leader, and when they're not, they're not.
Sure, but I don't think that was the case with Jalen. I never was like Carson, what a leader. I was like, wow, he's amazing. Look at this guy play. So with Jalen, I specifically said the phrase, I've never seen someone that age is such a good leader. Leadership qualities, or the way he goes about his business, all that. I absolutely think we put Jalen on that pedestal.
Yeah, for sure.
But not just because of winning. It was because of how I was saying it the year before. That was my whole argument with why I wasn't trading for Russell Wilson or why I wasn't trading for Deshaun Watson or that, was because I'm not betting against this kid. Whatever this kid has in him, he's going to get it out of him.
Right.
He will get 100%. And the way he is with the guys and all that. I think he'll work hard. But I don't know if he has the leadership stuff.
Right.
I don't know if he can get guys to believe in him, to follow him, to whatever that I thought. I don't know. Maybe he does, and he's still young and can change and learn. But I actually got a little more, especially with the things coming out like that. Those literal reports have come out of the locker room. We need more from Jalen. He's not giving us what we need.
Well, what's interesting, I was thinking about that report about isolated and they need more. First of all, it didn't really blow up the way I thought it would. And maybe that's people not wanting to talk about it. But I also think what's interesting is there was really not a lot of pushback. There were no other reports that came out. Well, actually, sources say Jalen's actually a great leader, right? So I thought that was a little interesting. But in terms of leadership, I agree with you. Last year, Jalen looked I've said this, if you could build a quarterback from scratch.
Yes.
Literally, I fought this tooth and nail on Radio Row for
I remember,
a week.
yep.
And I've said that at the podium, Jalen looks like the perfect franchise quarterback. So, I definitely think very highly of Jalen. I think sometimes with leadership, and I don't know how you felt about Carson, because we started doing this together in 18, so I wasn't really with.
It was already on the down. Yeah.
But I think for me too, I said at one point I wouldn't trade Carson for any player or any set of picks in the NFL. So I guess the point I'm making is when the player's playing well, I think we raise up other qualities.
I agree.
So while I think Jalen is probably not doing a good job this year off the field, it's probably not like last year he was amazing.
So I get it.
Awful.
I'm talking specific to Jalen. We do that with all players. I'm saying with Jalen, I specifically thought he was the greatest I've ever seen. I'm not saying, he's a good leader. I'm really excited about his future. I wouldn't trade him for anyone. I'm saying I think he's the greatest this specific thing at that age that I've ever seen, and now he's struggling with it. So and that's a different thing than on the field ability. That's like not like, I got hurt or I'm dinged up or whatever. That's like how you are as a leader, how you are as the main most important person in that locker room.
But I also think like a lot's changed in Jalen's life. Like he has that new contract.
I know.
I'm sure he's dealing with a lot of stuff.
I know, but that's a concern is my point.
Yeah, well, I think.
And again, I'm not saying he can't get there, and I'm not saying he's a bad leader or anything like that. I'm just saying it's something that outside of the on the field stuff, which he improved, he took that leap, and we thought whatever. But we're still like, he could still work on this or that, or the turnovers happen. Like that's all like football play, and stuff can happen, and physical. Your body gets hits, and all this stuff. This is something where it's just like this shouldn't change. Like he's either great at this or he's not. You know what I mean? He's either able to get out of himself and give people what they need, or he's not.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Right. I think next year will be the answer.
Massive.
Next year will be the answer as to like who he can be as a leader of the team. I think for sure. But to the Howie thing, like when I look at Howie, I think signing Jalen to the contract he did was the right call. Like you had to sign Jalen. Like let's just be honest here. You were not going to not sign Jalen going into the year. We could argue like maybe you don't and blah blah blah. Like you think things are ugly now. Imagine if right now Jalen has the year he has, and Jalen's sitting there thinking like I've cost myself $100 million. So you almost had to pay him. I think the contract they paid him was, as we've talked about, one of the best contracts I've ever seen. The cap hits I think were laid out really well. And the reason I bring that up is because I really think he could have signed T.J. Edwards and Marcus Epps. Like I know, and I don't blame him because I do still believe organizationally the philosophy of not valuing linebackers is the correct thing. Now, I do bet this offseason.
Might be changing though.
Well, I definitely think they'll overcorrect.
Yeah.
Like for
they
sure.
always overcorrect.
It won't surprise me if they like trade a major asset for a linebacker or do something, right? Like they will acquire, I bet, like a linebacker where we're sitting here and going, man, that guy's a stud.
Yeah.
But I do think the philosophy they've used is correct. Like they've won a lot of games. They've won a Super Bowl with that philosophy, like all those things. Where I would ding Howie is like the backup offensive line's not that good.
Yep, which I talked about coming into the season. Yep. That was my remember I was one of my big worries, and after the Jets game with the like seeing Driscoll, like that was a concern for me coming into the season and played out. It's a good point.
The number 3 receiver spot was not good enough.
A disaster.
They banked on Quez again,
and then they signed Julio.
They signed Julio, who's been fine, I guess.
But he's caught a couple touchdowns or 3 touchdowns. But it's not like come on, like
I agree. Like the number
difference
number 3 receiver spot's not been good enough.
Especially when you see
he hit on Cunningham.
Well, especially when you watch like the Giants, and they got like Hyatt, and these guys aren't even that good. Hodge, but they're out there like catching the football.
Yeah,
and
that's why I would have traded for Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah.
But at linebacker, I think he hit on Cunningham to an extent. I don't think Moreau was as big of a miss, but I think they counted on Moreau more than they should have.
Agree.
Like he can't be the main difference-making linebacker.
Look, Kobe not being able to stay healthy hurt.
Justin Evans, major miss, and I blame him for that too. Like Justin Evans you can blame Howie. That guy had been hurt his whole career.
Yeah, he's never stayed on the field.
He was the starter day 1 in training camp. Yep. Like you can't go into the year with him as your
great point.
The other guy who's look, it didn't end up mattering because they got Swift, but like Rashad Penny. Major miss. If you look at the first free agents they signed, they were almost all misses.
That's a good point.
So I think he's definitely missed on guys. Again, Moreau, Justin Evans, Penny, all misses.
Now, to be fair, all of those are practically minimum signing guys. But they ended up having to play, or not. Penny didn't. But
they were minimum signings, but they were all, when they acquired them, projected to be first of all, Moreau and Evans ended up being starters.
Yeah.
Penny didn't, but they clearly wanted Penny to be more.
But Moreau wouldn't. If N'Kobe had been ready to start the season. Do you think Moreau starts? Was N'Kobe ready to start the season? Wasn't, right?
No, N'Kobe started the first game.
And then got hurt. Okay.
I don't know. It's a good question because
Moreau wasn't. Remember, they put him on the practice squad.
Yeah, they cut Moreau.
Yeah. So he was definitely not to start. N'Kobe got hurt.
But no, I'm saying when they signed Moreau, I think they viewed him as being a starter because they signed Cunningham late in the training camp. So like Penny signed projected to be a major guy, was not. Justin Evans signed to be a starter, wasn't. Moreau signed to be a starter, ended up being it, but.
Again, though, and I agree with your point. They're misses, but again, Penny got $600,000.
No, I agree. But the criticism I'm giving of Howie is he took a lot of major risks at key key spot. Like spots
by not spending more money in those spots.
When you have money to spend.
I got you. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
And again, these aren't spots I super value.
I was trying to say like for $600,000, what do you expect? But I get your point. Yeah.
But like
spend more money.
You can sign someone for $1 million that's like has more of a reputation than Justin Evans. Is the point I'm making.
For sure.
Justin Evans didn't even play for 2 full years, and like shocker, he's barely played this year.
I had never heard of him.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah,
so like
I never heard of the guy.
Moreau.
Same with Moreau.
Moreau had played quite a bit.
He played a year. I'd never heard of him.
Yeah, Moreau had played quite a bit, but like didn't end up working out. So I think you can kill Howie for those. But ultimately, if Jalen plays like Howie played Jalen to play, I don't think we're talking about these things as much. Like, so I was debating this with Ike yesterday. Like, who's the most disappointing player on the Eagles? And I said I thought it was Jalen, and he said Bradbury.
Well, yeah, Bradbury is the first one.
Yeah, Bradbury is certainly.
I think it's one of those things where it's like, I think Jalen's regression or not meeting his thing has hurt the team more than Bradbury.
Bradbury's been worse.
Not just that. Bradbury has had a bigger delta between what he was last year and what he was this year. Like Jalen,
sure.
And that's something, again, that I do think is important to mention. And again, Jalen deserves criticism. There's rip. Like, and I said this yesterday, but there has not been great quarterback play in the NFL this year. Like, it has been as about as bad a year as I remember my lifetime, really. Yeah. And granted, a lot of that is injuries and this and that, but like even the best quarterbacks, like Mahomes, like we're not talking about Mahomes having a good year. He's not gonna be an all-pro.
By the way,
like,
see, it's gonna feel negative 20 degrees in the game.
Buddy.
Miami is.
What a bad job by Miami to lose that game. Miami could have had a home game.
Of any team that has to now go, like, you go from playing in Miami to -20 against Patrick Mahomes. Like, talk about the use of the word
Are people
delta.
going for Mike McDaniel's job, though, or no?
You're preaching the choir on that one. But the Jalen thing, I would say, like, if Jalen plays better against the Seahawks, James Bradbury doesn't matter that he's.
I agree. But the Seahawks ones that he was sick in that one of all the games.
No, but
I know what you mean. The point is yes, but even still, like, I agree with you. I think it's a different question. I think the most disappointing I think Bradbury has been the furthest from what I expected, but I think Jalen's disappointment has hurt the team more. So
and
it's hard
the other part of this is like
apart.
Howie might have missed on Nolan Smith.
I'm not gonna react.
I don't know, man. He can't even get on the field.
I know it's not good, but he's undersized.
I would be interested in looking this up. He must be close to like the record, barring injury situations, of the least amount of snaps played for an Eagles first-round pick.
So
I guess Dillard actually, but like
well, I'm sure he's not close to that. I mean, like John Harris, like there have been guys, but also let's remember he was the second first-round pick. He was like a luxury pick.
Still a first-round pick.
I agree, but like a luxury pick in a lot of ways. Look,
not really a luxury.
I mean, you know what I mean.
I get your point, but not really. Like I understand what you're saying, but that pick was a crucial pick.
No, my point was it was a pick where they have depth and they already had players coming in, and I agree. Look, it's. All I'm going to say, I'm never going to overreact to a rookie.
I'm not saying I'm out on him, but
I know
he's not been a contributing player.
No, he hasn't. Yeah. But again, he's a rookie. He's a first-year guy like that. Like, I don't know.
I just think first-round picks should be expected to contribute.
I think they generally should, but he's also a unique case who is someone who, like, we all knew it coming in. Is like, he is not big enough. Like, he is going to have to get to an NFL size to be able to play that position effectively. Right. So it's like.
Look, he could have a good year next year, for sure. I'm just saying. If we're going to talk about the job Howie did in helping this team this year, like Nolan Smith has been a miss. Like,
yeah, sure. Again,
there was talks of taking Nolan Smith at 10. I know obviously it didn't happen, but
it didn't. And there's probably a reason he went to 30 and all that. But I just don't think I never you expected something from Nolan Smith this year. I didn't. Like I said that to him preseason when you were like going on. I'm like, I don't expect much from Nolan Smith this year. I just don't. Like I think he's a guy you take for the future. He's a guy who's undersized, guy who's not physically ready to play in the NFL right now, and you have to get him, and you have to believe that you can get him physically ready. And maybe he won't.
Right.
But like he is the all-time just not going to overreact to your one
Well,
guy.
What's interesting is if you look at the 4 Georgia guys, like Jalen Carter, obviously a hit so far, clearly.
Yeah.
N'Kobe.
It's 5 Georgia guys. Poor Keeley.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Keeley, my bad.
Who's actually been pretty good.
Well, Keeley might be the second best pick of them all. So what do you think of N'Kobe, who knows?
Yeah, N'Kobe, who knows. Jordan Davis, absolutely have to rip him. Yeah, and that's something we should mention. Howard Eskin confirming, there have been reports out before. Howard Eskin confirms it last night on WIP, saying that Jordan Davis is getting fined every week for his weight. I mean, it's a disaster. And now I will say, because I came in, I'm like, this is outrageous. Take him off the field, whatever.
Right.
Both Ross Tucker and John Ritchie, 2 guys who played in the NFL, talk about it, and they're like, this isn't that. Like, he should be in shape, but like this happens. So they're like,
Hugh and Ike
Ross
said this
Tucker
as well.
literally said that the best defensive line that we ever had are 2 defensive tackles. It was Sam Adams, and it was, I can't remember who the other guy was. He was like, they got fined every week. He's like, literally, he's like, I think one of them had like $700,000 in fines by the end of the year or whatever it was. But it's like, the point being that and he's like, and they were the 2 best defensive, the best defensive tackle tandem in the NFL. He's like, they were amazing.
Right.
So he's like, Sam Adams didn't think that they were right about where his weight should be. And he said, I don't care. So it's a different situation. But the point being that Richie also said that as the season goes on with the cortisol shots and all that, you gain weight easier and all. So the former players didn't think it was as big a deal as I did, but I think the issue why it's a big deal is this is a guy who came into the league with this tag on him.
Right.
And came into the league with this, like, being an issue to be worried about. And it's like you can't early on in your career. Like, and it's every week. It's not like he's going to find a couple times. It's saying he's going to find every week.
So I'm like kind of choosing to believe that Jordan Davis is working hard behind the scenes and he just can't hit weight. Like, that's what I'm choosing to believe.
Well, that's what Ross and John are saying.
Yeah.
It's like some people just can't
it's
hit
just
weight.
hard.
Yeah.
Like, I also say on the side note, I don't think teams should be allowed to do this, but that's a discussion.
Yeah, why not? It's the NFL.
It seems messed up. Like, unless you.
But it's their job to be in shape.
No, I know
what you mean. It's not like it's not like this is like, oh, you don't look pretty enough, lose weight. Right. Whatever. This is your job to be in shape.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
You're getting paid millions of dollars to partially stay in shape.
Right.
You know, it's part of your contract.
Yeah. I will agree with that.
I holistically agree. I don't think people should be.
Yes.
You know, your weight. Like there are a lot of people who struggle.
I'm surprised he agrees to those things.
Well, I don't think he has a choice to sign the contract.
It's
I think
rookie contract. I'd be curious if it's built into all rookie contracts. Or
apparently, it's a super common thing. Like Richie said that everyone has weight goals of some kind or another. It's just that the offensive lineman's the one who struggled to hit it.
Yeah.
You know. The big dude.
But like, bottom line, Jordan Davis isn't playing well enough, and maybe that's because he's out of his shape. I personally think it's because he just can't rush the passer. Like, it just is what it is. But yeah, I mean, Jordan Davis. I don't know. I wouldn't qualify him as a miss, but what would you qualify him as?
I think he's a serviceable player, but I think for you trade up to the 13th pick of the draft to take him at 13, like he is right now absolutely not, and especially with Kyle Hamilton being the pick after, just making it the new Earl Thomas, Brandon Graham situation.
Here's like an interesting way to look at it. Howie's made 3 first-round picks over the last 2 years. I think the only one he would definitely make again is Jalen Carter.
So Carter, well,
Davis
Jordan,
Nolan Smith.
Yeah, well, again, Nolan Smith is just way too early for me.
But just for fun, as an exercise, do you think today Howie would say
I'd have to go? I mean, it's all about who's on the board, right? Like, but I think
you could trade the pick,
but it's all about the situation, right? I don't know. I know, I think Jalen Carter would go higher than 9 if we want to do this thing.
100%.
Like, I think Jalen Carter would probably be one of the first 2 picks in last year's draft.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
It just feels like of the last.
C.J. Stroud goes 1, Jalen Carter goes 2, or maybe Anthony Richardson still goes 2. I don't know, but
I mean,
Jalen Carter's going ahead of Bryce. Well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Carter's going ahead of Bryce Young. I'll tell you that.
Sure.
You know,
Yep.
so.
Well, I think so. He definitely hit on Jalen Carter. That's also we're talking about his job. Like, he hit on Jalen.
No, no.
But of the last 3 first-round picks he's made, 2 of them are closer. I know we'll see. But
yeah,
2 of them
again,
are
I think you can rip for
bust.
Davis, but I'm just not going to do it. No, I get your
That's
point,
fine.
but it's just too quick. It might be a bust. It's just too quick.
I agree, but it's the world we live in.
Sadly, but
I
that's
know,
the
I'm
problem.
just
That's what
saying.
fighting. But
Right.
that's what. Don't be so reactionary, right?
No,
Say it to
but-
yourself. When we're talking about the next year or anything, don't be
Right.
so reactionary.
But it's different between
Year
firing
1.
somebody and saying it looks like Nolan Smith was not a great pick.
Year 1.
It could change for
and
sure.
again, would you not acknowledge that he's a guy who we said, oh, he's probably not physically ready to step right in the NFL right now? Like,
it'd be a fun exercise to go through one day, maybe in the off season, of like first-round picks where the first year we were like, oh, I don't know, that ended up being great for the Eagles. They're probably, obviously Brandon Graham is one of them.
yeah,
right?
I think there's a
But
fair amount.
I'd be curious to know. Like, Lane was awesome right away. Jalen Carr's been
Ertz
awesome.
wasn't awesome right away.
He was a second-round pick.
Oh yeah, duh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fletcher, I have to go back and look. I feel like he was awesome right away.
Fletcher was good right away.
Yeah, Dillard was not. Obviously Dillard ended up not being worth it. So I'd just be curious to know. Like, Reagor was not. He ended up not being worth it. I don't know what it means, but I'm worried about Nolan Smith.
I can tell.
Yeah.
What a turn.
He can't even get on the field.
Mr. Nolan Smith.
Hey,
I
just
honestly
being
thought
honest,
you were
though.
the president of his fan club.
I thought I was too. But I'm out.
Funny. Whereas I was like, give him time. We'll figure it
Not a
out. I'm not
Foxhole
going to overreact. You're not.
Yeah.
I'm not going to overreact. I think you're a Foxhole guy.
I am a Foxhole guy, but I'm worried about Nolan Smith.
Yeah. You're quick to. You're all right. If one of your friends is in trouble, you're a
Right.
Foxhole. You're like all time
For
go
sure.
to. But if one of your opinions is in peril, you are absolutely not a Foxhole.
Well, I'm willing to change my mind.
Yeah.
The
But
best-
no, I think you're willing
Yeah,
to. too quickly in some cases.
The best minds are willing to change them.
I agree.
Yeah.
We're a big change your mind pod,
Yeah,
but, don't change it too quickly. Again,
I mean, it's been a full year. It's a full season.
It's his first season in the NFL, and he's undersized.
I'm not saying I'm giving up on him. I'm saying it doesn't look great. That's all.
Again,
if we're talking about the job, how he's done it. Nolan Smith pick.
Right.
I
think I would put it an A, not applicable. Like I don't know yet. I don't think there is enough. He's not on the field enough. Like, and I don't think
that's the problem. He can't get on the field.
First of all, got hurt in training camp. You always talk about how much that sets rookies
he hurt
back.
his shoulder.
He missed camp.
He was
time.
active week 1, if I'm not mistaken.
But he missed like 11 days of training camp. You always talk about what a big deal
I
is.
know I am. So I'm
like,
the
you
fact
are
I'm saying
completely going
it's not.
against everything you always say.
No, but I'm saying I am Mr. That Guy, and I'm saying I don't think this is applicable. My Mr. Miss training camp thing is big guys that have lower body injuries. That's it's true. Have I used it for any other player?
You're no longer allowed to root for Nolan Smith.
You
are no. When he's good, I'm going to take a lap, and you're not. And I'm not even saying he's going to be good. I'm just saying it's too quick to jump.
I'm not saying I'm out on him. I'm saying if we want to live in the realistic
think there's
world,
other than honestly, I'm trying to think. Like, there is a level of bad that you could say, all right, that guy's never going to be good. But like, honestly, I will almost never in any situation across the NFL say that guy's bad after his rookie year.
Again, I like Nolan Smith. I was driving his rookie season has gone almost as bad.
Clearly don't.
Short of like a season-ending injury.
Clearly don't like him.
I don't have to tell you, he doesn't play, and when he plays, he really doesn't do much. Like that's just the reality of what it is.
I just think it's way too
17 games.
Again, I just think it's way too quick.
It is early, but the early signs are not good.
I'm not even thinking about it.
I know.
I'm not even thinking about it.
All right.
All right.
We want to talk to Kobe or just move on?
Well, what's there to say?
Keely Ringo, I think, is a hit so far. I think
sure. I like Keely a lot. I think
Keely has
good.
Definitely been good.
Yeah. Again, it's early.
I know you're not passing
early
judgment on people. I get that. Yeah. It's not too early for Nakobe.
No, Nakobe can't stay on the field.
What about Jordan Davis?
No, I mean, I think it's getting like it's too early. It's not too early to say that he's been a disappointment.
Right.
I think it's too early to say that he can't be more than what we've seen. But yeah, look, again, I think if you had to bet right now, you bet Jordan Davis is a serviceable 10-year type
like
pro, stops the run and
third.
Yeah, and is solid. Like that's what I would bet on right now.
Right.
But would I be shocked if he still takes a step forward with the athleticism and the ability he has? Absolutely not. But like,
I'd be pretty shocked at this point.
I think he played really well to start the season. Like the first 6 games, he was really good.
Yeah.
And then, so like, I don't know. I would bet on option A, like we just talked about, but I wouldn't bet against option B in the same way.
All right, fair.
So you're quicker to be out on people. We've learned that.
Well, I was
quick trigger. Yep, NFL in and out. If you're not good in your rookie year, I'm done with you.
I might not be great at recognizing talent, but I think I'm pretty good at recognizing who can't play.
I don't know.
I'm trying to think of the time I've been out on somebody and changed my mind, and like been wrong.
I mean Dan Campbell.
Yeah, it's one. He's not a player, but yes, that's
blew that one pretty big. Huh?
Hey, well, yeah, I was wrong about.
Shout out to Dan Campbell.
I was wrong about Dan Campbell.
What a week for us. What a year for us. I'm very happy. I was the first. I was number one.
You know what's so crazy?
By myself on Dan Campbell Island.
What would you think the chances are that the Lions and Cowboys lose? Because I don't think it's not great.
No, it's possible.
There's a chance if the Eagles win, they're hosting a playoff game.
Yeah, I don't.
The Packers is the tough one.
It's a very small chance. So it's funny because I actually, the Pack. Honestly, I think both will win. The Lions, the excitement of that first playoff game.
I don't think the Lions
years
are
at home. I don't think the Lions are losing that game. I just don't, especially Stafford coming home.
Who do you think's more likely to lose? Cowboys or?
I think Dallas is more likely to.
I could kind of see it,
but I don't think either is losing.
Man,
I think they both win. I think the Eagles.
It
are going
is exciting that
going
into Monday night, the Eagles will know where they're going.
Yeah, I'd much rather go to San Francisco than Dallas because we're gonna lose to either anyway. So,
I'm not gonna like personally, I would much rather go to Dallas. Just like for me, for Elliot, I'd rather go to Dallas.
Yeah. I can't lose to Dallas in the playoffs. I'd much rather lose San Francisco. If I'm losing either way, which I am,
about it. Yeah.
If I'm losing either way,
yeah, I'll have to think about who I'd rather.
All right,
play.
last thing before we get to final thoughts. Let's get back to what we were originally going to start the pod with, and we didn't.
Oh, well, this could kind of be the final thought. But
it's part of it. Yeah. But it's not.
All
but
right, so set it up.
Yeah, so set it up. So Elliot said,
we're talking about the Flyers,
the Cutter Gauthier thing, and Elliot said, first of all, which I strongly disagree with. Period. That it is the. What did you say it as? The most interesting?
I said I think it's the most interesting Flyers thing of my lifetime, besides maybe when they were in the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, and I said that's crazy.
Right.
But I quickly mentioned the Eric Lindros thing, which is like the Cutter Gauthier thing on steroids.
Right.
And you're like, well, that wasn't my lifetime, and I was like, yeah, it was. It was like '93, and you're like, well, I was 5.
Yeah.
And I said Then say your cognizant lifetime or what I can remember. Because if you say in my lifetime, guess what? When you were 5 years old, frickin' counts.
And I get that, like, practically you're correct, like, technically. Right?
Technically, everything. I'm correct, period.
I don't think you would say to anybody, like, well, you should remember that. You were 4.
I say in my cognizant lifetime.
I very
specifically
cognitive lifetime
cognizant.
like I think saying in, like, my
cognizant. You know
yes,
what that means?
Yes.
Okay, not cognitive.
I think saying in my
cognitive is a very different thing. Well, not that, but it is different.
You're right.
Well, it's very different. Yeah, it's about your brain function and whatnot.
Well, okay. So maybe I don't know the difference then. Cognizant.
I mean, it's from the same root word.
Yeah,
but cognizant and cognitive
essentially
are different
like
words.
What you remember, like what you're aware of, right?
Yes.
So I think they're similar words.
They're similar words. They're from the same root word, but they don't mean the exact same thing.
I think they're both applicable in this situation.
No.
Well, honestly, explain to me why.
It's just grammatically incorrect.
So you're saying cognizant.
Cognizant.
Okay. Versus cognitive. Like
it is the wrong word. Tucker, you jump in here. You're a wordsmith.
I do like words. They're my favorite.
Yeah.
Favorite part of this.
Cognitive and cognizant are different words.
But don't you think they're both applicable in this?
No.
I don't know. I've never used the word cognitive. I don't even know if that is a word.
Yeah,
it sounds made up.
Yeah. I don't like cognitive is like cognitive brain function. I've heard that phrase.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yes,
like
that is not cognizant. Cognizant is is a way of saying during when you were
cognitive.
When you were aware of things, when you were sentient.
Cognitive is of relating to, being, or involving conscious intellectual activity, such as thinking, reasoning, or remembering. So I think this would
I just nailed cognizant. Cognizant is having knowledge or being aware of.
Yeah, I think these two definitions are very similar.
They are similar, but it is not grammatically correct. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying it's not the worst word you could have used. You could have said something much dumber.
Agreed.
But I'm saying that if you want to be grammatically correct, saying cognitive there is not correct. That's all I'm trying to say to you.
Okay,
it's not even the right like the tense is wrong that you're using.
Right, but. All right, that's just.
You know what I mean, though?
Yes, but this isn't the debate. The point I was.
Well, I think it's a more fun debate now. We do get multiple.
I think
you're more in your wheelhouse now that we're talking vocabulary.
I know,
and I'm out of my wheelhouse. But and he's very passionate about this. But like, I think that while you're correct, like, I think it's simple.
You could have just ended there.
I'm making the same point.
While you're correct,
but like it's the same point. But regardless, I think if like to say that the Eric Lindros thing was during my lifetime, like yes, it was. You're right, it was, but. I'm not like I'm talking about things that I remember of my Flyers lifetime. I don't think the Lindros thing counts.
So shouldn't you just said that, right?
Yeah, no, I'm saying
it's the category that I remember happening in my lifetime that or that happened in my of me being aware or my cognizant, which is
look. I think it's Joe says this, and you probably bring it up too. Like, what year were you born?
83. I always say I always be like only 2 champions in my lifetime, but then I will clarify and say. Obviously, they won in 83, but I don't remember that. So my cognizant lifetime. That's why I always say my cognizant lifetime.
I think you're being too literal with this.
I'm not.
Like, I don't think anybody is expecting you to be like, no. You were alive in 83.
I do, though. I do with you.
So you think
especially because like
you think it's assumed you cherish an 83 championship the
I'm
same
not
way
saying cherish.
Like
and there's
a
different thing, too, to what you're saying than like, like an actual thing you remember. You're just saying this is the wildest thing that's happened in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And it's not. But it's not. Like, you could say, you know what I mean? Like, it's not.
But it is in the way that, like, of what I've lived through.
Then say that.
I think I'm correct here. Like, to say.
Well, and either way, so that's my
is
bigger
the chat
point.
Chiming in?
That's my bigger point. I don't think that this Cutter Gauthier thing is the wildest thing that's happened to the Flyers in your lifetime. That's a crazy thing to say.
Well, that's a different debate.
I mean, your cognizant lifetime, it's like, I feel like it's 50th on my list. Like, it's so, like, whatever. It's
really?
A guy requested a trade because he wasn't going to come here. Like,
well, it's their number 5 overall pick demanding out and them having to trade him because he won't play. Like, it's pretty wild. That is a wild thing to have happen.
I mean, it's wild.
If it happened with the Eagles or the Sixers, we would be discussing it for days.
It's pretty wild. But I just don't think it's like
years, actually. But
the most wild thing that's happened with the Flyers.
Can you name others? I'm open to hear them.
I mean, the Flyers fired their coach after being.
Coaches get fired all the time.
The Flyers fired their coach after the Stanley Cup Finals. That was pretty wild. How about that one?
I don't think that's as wild.
There's a ton of them. I mean, like, there's all kinds. I mean, again, the Lindros one is easily more wild, obviously, with the Rangers and the who's gonna get him, and the Rangers and the Flyers trading with the Nordiques.
That was wild.
Yeah,
but like, I wouldn't say that was in my lifetime.
It was, but you don't remember it. And again,
I think that's what your lifetime is. Like,
yeah. I think you should specify your cognizant lifetime.
I just don't think
it's not. Like, if we're being technical, your lifetime is from the day you were born until now.
You want specification on something that's assumed.
It's not though to me. I just say it's clearly not assumed.
But I think to you, I think you're taking it.
I think
the
you're
general
wrong.
public.
I think when I hear in my lifetime, I think, oh, so since you were born, like that's what I think, and that's why unless you clarify or unless I clarify, my thought when you say in my lifetime, like if I would say in my lifetime, I would say from 1981 to now, like what has happened, like. So like I don't agree with you.
I know, but I think
in my
you
lifetime,
take it differently than other people.
I don't know. I think most people think when you were born, like when you were like, and obviously you're implying you have to remember and stuff, but like when I say something like this happened in my lifetime, like you don't think that people think I mean
but
from when I was
two
born?
different ways though. Like if I say it happened in my lifetime versus it's the craziest thing of my lifetime. Like yes,
same thing. I understand that you're trying to make that different. It's not.
But no, I'm not trying to make it different. I view it as different.
That's a mistake by you.
Like all right, so let's say I'm trying to give a big world story that like I don't know, but like let's say I was whatever. If you were born in the literal year, I don't think that means it's technically in your lifetime. I don't think you should be expected to assume it's part of you. Where do you fall on this, Tucker?
Yeah, Tucker, where do you come down?
I don't know. I don't really view it as a hard and fast rule.
Yeah, I do.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think you're in the minority of.
No, I'm just kidding.
I never use in my lifetime.
When you think about it, when you hear the phrase when someone says in my lifetime, do you think?
I think it's from the day you're born.
Thank you.
But I don't.
That's my whole point. That's
like
exactly
if you said,
what I'm trying to say.
Like
yes, that's my point. That's
in my lifetime,
that's my whole point.
The Braves have won like 27 division championships, right? Like that's starting in 1995 when I was born.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. Is when people say in my lifetime, they're talking about when they were born. That's just what people assume. I understand that you're only talking about what you remember, but when other people hear it, they are hearing in the time you've been alive.
But what I'm saying is
that's why I say cognitive.
No, I know. But I'm saying I think I'm talking about from way of impactfulness of like what impacts you. You see what I'm saying? Like yes.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I'm just saying you got to understand when you're talking, when you say in my lifetime, you're talking to someone else, right? There are other people taking in that message that you're putting out. Yes. The point is when other people hear that, they think from when you were born. So when I say, oh, no, actually this happened in 93, you're like, well, that's not my lifetime.
I'm going to try this out on people.
It is in your lifetime, and that's the point.
I'm going to try this out on people and see
I love it.
Majority of people
this is great. Did the chat have any general thoughts on it?
We got one comment that says, this is semantics at best. But I agree with James.
Thank you.
So.
But
yes,
semantics at
I
best.
love you.
Yeah, semantics at best. Were there any other interesting chat things that you bring up?
A lot of
so much
Jalen Hurts
debate.
I was actually thinking this could be our final thought.
I was excited. Do you want to save?
Yeah.
Fine.
But go ahead.
A lot of Jalen Hurts debate, which made me think. Someone brought it up in the chat. He had 38 touchdowns this season.
Yeah.
At 24 turnovers. You more excited about the 38 touchdowns, or
I don't think he had 24.
Yeah, 24 turnovers.
I don't think that's correct.
He threw 15 interceptions.
Yeah. So he had 8 fumbles. Is that really?
But
9 fumbles?
Is someone putting total fumble versus lost fumbles?
I think
24 seems wild.
It seems insane. Either way, I think everyone is more upset about the turnovers than the touchdowns. I think that's without a doubt. Yes.
All right, you want to do a final thought?
No, we could save it. All right, so I'll save
He lost 5 fumbles.
Okay,
so that's 20.
Yeah, so he had like 20.
Still
okay.
a lot.
Yeah, 12. Yeah, it's a lot, but 24 seemed like that's like almost 2 a game.
Yeah.
Not really.
So yeah, we'll save that. That's fine. I'll save my.
I feel like that was a good final. That was a good question.
I guess so. Just teased the final thought yesterday.
No, I'll go for it. I'm just saying. I think
is this weird tomorrow? We'll find out if this is weird tomorrow because I had an is this weird.
Okay.
No big deal.
We got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Monday. So.
And then they're gonna be final thoughts left over because they're gonna lose on Monday, and then I'm gonna. I've not gotten them.
Lose on Monday.
All right, we'll see.
Did Kelsey say anything interesting during the interview?
No, nothing out of the ordinary. Just
he did push back, I guess, on the Goddard thing.
Yes, he did.
He did. Yeah.
He did, which is good.
He seemed not happy with the Goddard.
Yeah.
He didn't say his name, but seemed unhappy with it.
Yeah. He was like, I don't think we should say that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, which
And I feel like at one point he started to say something like, and I like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dally. He was,
And then he was like, I'm not even gonna.
But I thought other than that, he's always honest.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be back tomorrow with.
Oh, I just had a Kelsey thought.
Yeah, you go ahead.
I think Kelsey's way less likely to come back if they fire Sirianni.
Oh, that's really interesting. So if I had to bet, I would bet Kelsey's.
I think he's retiring. Agreed.
I don't feel strongly about it, but I would say 70-30.
You think he wants to come back, learn a new offense, learn a new system?
Oh, that's another great point.
At least if Sirianni comes back, he's like, yes, there'll be changes. But
after watching the doc, after watching the Kelsey thing, and just seeing how much Kylie wants him to retire, and seeing the pain that he goes through and what his body goes through, and after this year, and just kind of
I think he's retiring.
I do too.
I agree with you.
Look, and I wouldn't blame. Obviously, we want him back every year. Dude, I'm 42. it hurts when I wake up in the morning. Like I wake up and I'm like, wow, how did I?
Kelsey?
He's 36.
It's crazy we're the same age.
I know. Like I watch him every week. It hurts. It hurts watching him. It hurts watching him. I'm like, how do you do? You're like, man.
I don't think I'll ever look as old or manly as Jason Kelsey.
As old?
Yeah, old or like as old as Kelsey looks right now. I don't. And I'm not saying he looks old. I'm saying I think I will always feel and look younger.
Yes. I'm 6 years older than him. So that's
but I don't think you look 6. Like if I saw you and Jason next to each other, I would assume you're the same.
I got a lot of gray hair these days, though. You know,
so does Jason.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. All right. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll really dive in. We'll start to look.
I've done
ahead.
all my research.
Yeah,
so.
We'll start to look at, even though we've got 3 more pods. But
yeah.
Friday we'll do the Parks picks. Obviously, be at Parks on Saturday. And we'll get to another final thought tomorrow.
We didn't even talk about the rain. Look how grown I am.
Yeah, what are you talking about? You mentioned it at the beginning of the pod.
No, I think we mentioned it. Like,
oh, was it off the air?
Yeah,
I think that was before we went live.
Oh,
yeah.
So I mean, you still mentioned it, just maybe not.
Well, I saved it. It was part of my lifetime.
That's good.
That's
right. Yeah, so it's never rained
Where's
that
it
hard in my
rank among
lifetime.
storms in your lifetime?
Honestly, it reminded me of the one that made me move out of Westchester. It really did. Just in terms of, dude, and then, sorry, we'll wrap it up. But that storm was literally, it went from like South Carolina to like the upper part of.
It was a nuts one.
Like,
I got a text from Elliot yesterday just being like, weather's wild.
It is. It's wild. Yeah.
I love those
wild.
texts. All right, we'll be back tomorrow as the Daily Pods continue. Until then, he's out of